Hi. If you're here, you more than likely have heard the news that KCAL FM in the Inland Empire has released all their on air talent to go to an automated system. To what they're going to play is classic rock all day, all night, without any physical on air talent. And a few months ago, I started to put together an idea for a video, which I'm going to do today, about the KCAL FM Rock Spectrum era, which was like the mid 70s to mid to late 80s. And so that's what we're going to do. And I want you to listen to the end because I'm going to give you something that I learned throughout this process of researching and all that. So here we go. Now, a little bit about me. I am old, and I did listen to a lot of KCAL, and I lived in the Inland Empire from the late 70s to the mid 80s or so. And I've got a lot of stories to tell. Now, we need to make an agreement, you and I, is I'm not going to remember everything. So I'm going to give you my thoughts and my memories about KCAL FM during what I would consider the golden age of KCAL. And some people may disagree, and that's fine. But here's the thing. I'm going to give you my memories and my thoughts on that. And if you have thoughts or memories that I missed, please leave them in the comments. That would be great. So let's start. I moved to the Inland Empire around 1978-ish. And my mom, it was after my parents divorced, and my mom had married somebody else. And so, it was a classic stepfather kind of a situation. And so my solace, my friend, my companion was KCAL FM. I would listen to it to go to sleep. And back in the late 70s, in the early 80s-ish, it was really a magical time. I gotta thank the Stu man. He really made that station. And I believe that he was the program manager. So, I mean, you could tell the things I loved about KCAL and at that time were because of the Stu man. And I got to thank you, man. Stu man, if you're listening, just thank you. And I'm going to be popping all around. I'm sorry that this is not a Netflix documentary. It's just me talking. So I remember KCAL FM's first broadcast building was on Greenspot Road in Highland. And I remember going out there. I had won, I think, concert tickets or an album or something. And I had to go out to the station there. And I remember it was the breakfast crew, and it was the Stu man and Steve. So it was Stu and Steve, the breakfast crew. And I remember I enjoyed drawing, and so I drew up a little kind of a logo and of what the two guys, what I thought they looked like, I thought that they looked like based on their voice. And so I went out there and I called and I said, "Hey, this is Jeff. I'm going to go pick up my whatever album or take whatever I won." And they go, "Oh, cool, okay." And they gave me the address. They go, "Can you bring us some breakfast?" I can't. Maybe I did. It's been a long time. So anyway, but I got to go out there and see the station. And there's one thing that kind of stuck out to me is there was a picture of Stevie Nicks, and it said, and with a big smile on her face, and she signed it to Stu, and it said, "Just tell everybody it was after we had a good time, Stevie," and it was to Stu. Anyway, so but that was my first glimpse into broadcasting, which kind of led me into this kind of thing later on. Anyway, so it was really, really cool meeting Stu and Steve and in the it was radio, man. I mean, it was just magical. And so I remember later on, Stu and Steve did an in-store appearance, and it was right across the street from the Redlands Mall. And it was a record store. It was some kind of a store. I can't remember. Maybe it was a smoke shop. I don't know. I don't recall. But I got a Saxon album from them at their, because they were kind of selling it. Maybe it was Scorpions, Love at First Sting. I can't remember, but it was. They were kind of going. It goes, hey, why don't you pick an album? Da 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 da. And then they kind of picked one. They go, hey, pick this one. This one's really good. And I think they try to get me to take the Saxon, and I go, no, the Scorpions though. That's what I want, because I love German screaming rock music. Anyway, but so the initial part of KCAL, I got to go to a guy named Ted Ziegenbush. Now, the story as I've heard it is Ted was working at KCAL, and he was talking to the owner, and he said, look, we have to do something different here. And so what I'm going to do is I'll stay up all night. And according to Ted, he brought his wife and his kids over, and they stayed up all night long, and they went through all the records that they were playing. Because at that point, I think they were playing soft rock in the morning and then harder rock at night. And so Ted stayed up most of the night and picked out this group of whatever, hundreds of albums. And he said, okay, here are the songs we need to play. And he started the AOR, which is album-oriented radio format. And it really caught on. And so that began the process of making KCAL something different. What I remember is KCAL was kind of off to its own place, because the Inland Empire, kind of a rural place. It wasn't the biggest area. And so you had LA, so you had KMET and KLOS dominating in Los Angeles. And in San Diego, you had KGB FM, B100, KCBQ, all the other stations over there. And so the Inland Empire was kind of an untapped place. And so Ted Ziegenbush was a real smart dude, because he knew doing something different would set him apart. And it did. And it really did. And so the stories I've read about the Stu man, Michael Stewart, is he showed up early all the time. He lived and loved radio. And you could tell, because his fingerprints were all over the favorite parts and the favorite years of the KCAL Rock Spectrum. And that was an incredible thing, because it wasn't just top 40 and it wasn't just classic rock. It was a rock spectrum. And so not only did we hear Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or whatever, but we also heard Dire Straits. We heard Santana. There were so many great things. And the most incredible thing was, it wasn't just radio. It wasn't just entertainment. It was also teaching you things. The Stu Man would do this show. It was called the Rock Evolution. And I believe it was 5 songs from bands showing the evolution of the band through their history. And remember, it was Journey and Led Zeppelin and all that. And you could really tell he sat down and said, he was teaching us how a band kind of progressed through their lifetime as a band. And it was just so great. And I remember I was going to church at the time, which was okay. And I would listen to KCAL early in the morning on Sunday morning. And they played this syndicated little news show. And it was from the Progressive News Network. So, it was a lot of recycling things and a lot of rural kind of, liberal, progressive news stories. but they had little clips of songs that talked about the subject that they were talking about. And a lot of it had Firesign Theater or songs that mentioned the word that was in the news item. So I'll play one or a bit of one or something.
Learning to be a clown is no laughing matter. Nowadays, most would-be clowns try to get into the clown college run by Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's Circus. 45 people are chosen each year from about 5,000 applicants. On the news blimp.
But the news blimp and all this kind of stuff, it was really, really incredible. Later on, when Tiffany came to KCAL, I talked to her twice on the phone. And so the first time is, I think it was the Morning Stiffy. They were doing something. How are you victimized? And they were kind of joking around about how everybody's a victim. Call in and tell us what you're a victim of. And so I called in because I was a smart aleck even then. So I called in, I talked to Tiffany, and she said, what are you a victim? I can't remember if I was on the air or not. I don't think I was. Anyway, so I called in and I said, I'm a victim of guys with flat stomachs. Started laughing. And then she called me back. She goes, you won. And I can't remember what I won. But there was one prize I won from KCAL that was the worst ever. It was tickets to go see the movie Hudson Hawk. That was awful. Such an awful movie. And I saw it down on Hospitality Lane when you actually wanted to go down to Hospitality Lane. San Bernardino, obviously, has been through some really tough times. It's bankrupt now. It's not my fault, but it's been through some tough times. Anyway, so the other time I talked to Tiffany is my buddy Leo Medina and I. Leo's passed away, so hey, Leo. Anyway, we took a class on cable access productions, and we wanted to do a comedy show. It was called The Cheap Show. We want to just, have just butcher paper on the wall and draw bricks, or just the cheapest thing ever, but just to do comedy and be on television. That's what we wanted to do. So here I am, sort of on TV, and probably in some places I am on TV, which that's cool. Anyway, so Tiffany was new on the radio. So I remember leaving a message. I said, hey, can you call, hey, Tiffany, this is Jeff Rohde from, whatever, please give me a call. We want to put you on a TV show, which is partially true. It's cable access. Only 4 people would watch it, but you would be on the news, on the TV. So she called me and her exact words were, what do you want with me in my life? Because I think I left 2 messages over a couple of weeks. And so she knew that I wanted to talk to her. And so I said, look, me and my buddy Leo, we want to do a cable access show. And they would, at that time, they would probably, it was a little safer then, they would let you come downtown, San Bernardino, and use their studio with all their cameras and everything, and do a show, and then you'd edit it, and then they put it on the cable access channel. I don't know which one it was, but anyway, so Tiffany, said, what do you want with me in my life? And I said, yeah, we want you to be on this show. And she goes, okay. She wasn't thrilled, if I was Ryan Seacrest or something. Oh man, this is good. No, I wasn't and am not. And so she says, all right, I'll do it. You jokey, yeah, but I have to mention the radio station. I'm sure, no problem. And unfortunately, it never happened. It never happened. And I'm sad to say, because it would have been funny. It may have been the only one I ever did with Leo and Tiffany. But anyway, that was my memory. I want to end with this, based on my stories, my memories, stuff I left out. Sorry, But I wanted just to say, based on the news of the changes that are happening, and not just KCAL, but a lot of places. iHeartRadio released a bunch of on-air talent. So the days of your favorite on-air DJs that are your friend, that are playing songs you love and that you can call up and joke around and all that, those days are over or almost over. And it's that I'm part of a SoCal Radio group on Facebook, and it's like a funeral dirge, man. Well, another one, lost on-air talent. Well, another one. So this is what I want to tell you. This is what I learned through this process of kind of collecting all these thoughts and all this. Whatever you love, whatever you enjoy it, love it as much as you can. Let me give you some examples. Like in the 80s, there may have been a band, or the 70s, there may have been a band that you really, really love. And then they're gone. It's over. And so if you really love something like a band or a TV show or a radio station or a movie or whatever, you better love it. You better buy whatever they've got, because you don't know, one day those cassettes, those CDs, those DVDs are gone. Nothing lasts forever. So whatever you enjoy, whatever you love it hard. Love it as much as you can. And I did my best. But here's something interesting. When I started to look back at the whole Rock Spectrum era, there's not much out there. There's not much out there. The only stuff that's really out there for like KCAL is kind of Now or the Morning Stiffy. It was just that kind of the biggest thing that was happening. The Keggers and all that. There's really not much in the Rock Spectrum era on YouTube. There's not. I mean, there's just a few things. There was a great interview with Jimbo, Stu, and Tiffany about the Morning Stiffy, which that filled in some gaps, and it was really, really incredible. But I got to tell you, Josh Jacobs has a great YouTube channel, and he interviews a bunch of people on the radio. And he interviewed Ted Ziegenbush, and that kind of filled in a lot of gaps for me. So, Josh, man, thank you. And, if you're a fan of radio and KCAL, I think you'd really like Josh Jacobs' interviews, because he's a radio guy and he's been around and he's whatever. And just a quick shout out to Wayne Henderson. He worked for KCAL around that time. So, but when you love something, love it. Love it hard. Love it as much as you can. Buy all the stuff. Buy the t-shirts. Buy the whatever. Whatever it is, the entity, the radio station, the band, whatever, they're going to love the fact that you love them as much to buy merchandise. Look, listening and enjoying and yelling at a concert, yay, that's great. But you need to love it all the way. So if you have any memories of that time, the KCAL FM Rock Spectrum, leave that in the comments, man, because we can't bring it back. But I'm trying to do as good of a tribute and appreciation for what the Stu Band, Daryl, all the folks at KCAL that really put it together. And I'll leave you with this. And I know I left so much out, but anyway, I remember talking to John Leslie, who worked for KCAL a short period of time. And he came from KGB FM in San Diego. And I called him on the phone and I said, man, what's happened to rock and roll? Because this was in the 80s. Look, and that was another threat to radio, was MTV. Radio, to my seeing it, radio hated MTV because they were afraid. Anything new, the old school whatever, like when TV came, the movie company and movie production companies hated television. So I was talking to John Leslie and I go, man, what happened to rock and roll? And he goes, I don't know, man. It's, MTV is it. And KCAL was playing Men at Work and that kind of thing. So they were kind of taking steps toward MTV. But, John Leslie said, rock's never really going to die. Sometimes it goes away, but it's going to come back. And I remember talking to one guy at the Sam Goody record store, which was at the Inland. It was at Central City Mall, back when it was called the Central City Mall. And I did the same thing. I said, man, what happened to rock and roll? What happened? And he goes, well, Ginger Baker has a new album out. And he goes, maybe Eric Clapton's doing some stuff. So now it's up to you. I've talked long enough. I've talked way long enough. If you're watching this, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel because I have really cool stories with heart, humor, and nostalgia at this channel. Also like this video as well. But the most important thing, please leave a comment. And look, I like comments that say, this is great, or whatever. But what are your memories of KCAL FM? Way back in the day, during the Rock Spectrum. And if you listen during the morning stiffy time, what are your memories then? But if you're not in the Inland Empire, what was your memories of your favorite radio station when you were growing up, when you're a teenager, when you're in your 20s, whatever? Leave that in the comments. So that's the most important thing. Please subscribe, like this video, and also leave a comment. So until next time, this is Jeff. Keep rocking, keep supporting those things that you love, and we'll talk soon. See ya. Bye.